back to Mel's Clever Crafts. Today we'll be making this beautiful holiday wreath. So if you're a subscriber, thank you very much for returning to the channel. And if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and also leave a comment and share it. So let's get to the tutorial. So today we're going to be making a holiday poinsettia wreath, and we're going to be using poly burlap. We're also going to be using a Dollar Tree 14-inch wreath frame or wreath ring. We're going to be attaching the poly burlap to the wreath ring using chenille stems. We're also going to be using a plastic canvas mesh in the middle because we're going to use this to attach as many of the flower petals as possible, as close to the center. And this is a number 7 plastic mesh. This mesh I got from Walmart. Number 5 is much easier to use when you have zip ties, but number 7 is the easiest one to find right now. And to attach this canvas mesh to the wreath ring, I'm going to be using 4-inch zip ties. To cut the poly burlap, I'm also going to be using a wood burner. To get started, we're pretty much going to prepare the wreath frame so that after we cut our poly burlap, we can just make our petals and we can attach them. So we're going to have to cut out the plastic canvas to attach to this wreath ring. So this plastic canvas can only work for one wreath ring. It's approximately 10.5 by 13.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is trace the outside of the inner ring. So here I have my somewhat circle. I'm just gonna cut this out, and then again, these plastic mesh, they're number 7, so they're not as easy to work with 8-inch zip ties, and 8-inch zip ties are better, at least from my experience, to use with the poly burlap when you're folding these petals because they're really thick. So that's why I'm using the chenille stems instead, because they can go through the holes on the mesh. The number 5 mesh, there are a bit bigger holes on there, so if you can use number 5 because you prefer to use zip ties, that would be the better bet for you to do this. But I'm going to use the chenille stems. So I have my canvas mesh on here like so, and you're pretty much gonna cut off your zip ties. So now we're gonna attach our chenille stems. So I'm gonna start from the second outermost ring. So this is the outermost ring out here, and I'm gonna start on the second ring from that. This wreath frame, as I said, is 14 inches and it has 6 sections. On each section, I'm going to be putting about 3. So I'll be putting 2 in the middle of each section. So, and I'll be putting 18 in total. 6, 1 on each bracket, and then 2 in between on each bracket. I'll be doing that on the 4th ring, and then I'll come inside. I'll try to have about 3 or so layers of the flower petals. So as I said, I'm using chenille stems. So what I'll do, pretty much attach the chenille stems. So I cut my chenille stems in half because I don't need a whole chenille stem. So what I did is pretty much cross the chenille stem over, maybe do it like about 2 times. Then I bring one under the wreath form and another one over the wreath form and under, bring it up, and that's what I'll use. So I'll just put the flower petal in here, and I'll just repeat this process. As I said, I'll be putting 1 petal on each bracket, and then in between each section I'm gonna be putting 2 petals. This is how I'm attaching the chenille stems. Put it under the ring, twist it 2 times, 1, 2, then put it under the ring, so over and then under the ring, right, on one side, and then the other one is over again and under the opposite direction from what you did on the other side. See? So I have 2. So now I'm going to the bracket, the second bracket. And I put it crossway on the bracket so that it pretty much doesn't move from that space. So again, put it under like so. And then I'm gonna twist 1 time, twist 2 times, over, under, and through. I guess I like tying a lace, right? And then under the opposite direction, over and through. And then that's it. So I'm gonna attach the rest of the chenille stems onto this wreath ring, and then I'll be back. Now we've finished attaching all the chenille stems to the wreath frame. So it's a 14-inch wreath frame, so it may not necessarily hold an entire screen, but I attached 18 on the outer ring, and my outer ring is the second ring coming in. So 1, 2, so second. And then I attached 12 to the 4th ring, which is the innermost ring. I attached 12, and then on the inside, on the canvas mesh, I attached another 12. So we're pretty much going to be using 18 petals out here, and then we're going to be using 12, and then another 12. So now we're going to be cutting our poly burlap, and when you're doing this, please cut it on glass. So this is a glass cutting board. I'm using, again, wood burner, using a chisel tip. It is hot. I started to heat it for like 10 minutes before I started to use it, so it's very hot. Please don't touch it. But it is a chisel tip. They come with multiple tips on them. I'm going to be cutting the lime green, and I'm cutting them in lengths of 10 inches. So this is the 10-inch poly burlap, so it's 10 inches wide. And this poly burlap, I purchased it from Craft Outlet. This is what the label pretty much looks like. So again, when you're cutting this using a wood burner, cut it in a well ventilated area, and also wear a mask, okay? Because this is a type of plastic, and this poly burlap, it's intertwined, but it has space in between. So if you can see the fibers, you can pretty much just cut straight down, and that kind of helps you to get that 10-inch. So it's not going to be perfectly 10-inch for all of them, but you just try to get it as close to 10 inches as possible. What the wood burner does is pretty much melt the plastic, and it helps to reduce the fraying of the poly burlap. So for each section, I think I'm going to need about 18 petals. We have our frame prepared. We have our mesh that we already cut, and we're using 3 different colors of mesh. So we're going to be using red, green, and plaid, right? So I have a red, green, and then we have a plaid kind. I'm going to be starting with the green, so I'm going to be putting the green on the outer one, red on the inner one, and then I'm going to be doing the plaid on the innermost part. That's the one that's on the canvas mesh. To get started, let me move this out the way. We're going to be doing a pointed petal today. I think that petal is very simple, but it's also very beautiful when you put it together. So we are going to have, again, these are cut 10 inches, so it's 10 inches by 10 inches, right? So we're going to have the finished ends at the top and at the bottom. Then we're going to put them, fold it in half, right? And try to line it up as easily as possible. So this was originally created, this flower petal was originally created by Dean Michael Designs. I learned about it from Julie's Wreath Boutique, and I tried it and I really liked it. Okay, so see, you fold it in half, and then you're pretty much gonna scrunch up through the center, so all the way from the bottom to the point. All right, so it's scrunched up like so. So you have your petal like this. All right, and then I'm gonna fold it together like this, and then I'm gonna attach it to the wreath frame. So my pre-prepared wreath frame is here, and as I said, let let me see. I want the finished end to be the one that's showing the most. All right, so just play with it to get it arranged in the way that you want it to be arranged, right? So I think this looks good, right? And attach it to the wreath frame. And you can use zip ties for this, but because I'm using the canvas mesh, the 7-count canvas mesh that's a bit smaller, I'm using the Chenille Stems instead. All right, but you can also use zip ties. Zip ties may be a bit quicker as well, because you don't have to really prepare by attaching them first to the wreath frame before you start working, but that's okay. All right, so my working space is a bit small, so I have to put stuff to the side and come back. So again, this is finished end at the top, finished at the bottom, and this is kind of fraying, and that's why we specify that we use the wood burner, because it kind of helps decrease the fraying. Of course, this part I didn't cut it came originally like that, but it started fraying while I was using the wood burner. And then you just fold it from top to bottom in a diagonal pattern, and you try to make these as even as possible. May not come out evenly 100%, and that is okay, but just try to line them up as best as you can. Okay, right? So see, we have like a triangle, and then we're just gonna scrunch up in the center like so, right? Scrunch it up. And again, this is Dean Michaels originally designed this petal, and I really love it. When it comes out, it creates such a beautiful floral wreath. And we just attach it here. I'm just gonna keep adding the petals to the outermost. Again, I'm doing green on the outside, and you have finished at the top, finished at the bottom. You take the bottom right, bring it over to meet the top left corner of your poly burlap, and then try to make it as even as possible, as lined up as possible. And then you're just gonna scrunch up the middle, scrunch it up like so, bring it together like so, right? Then you gather them in the center together, fold them up, and you hold it, and you shape it so that you get that shape and that look that you want. So you see, like so, right? So it's fraying a little bit, and that's okay. It's not perfect, but that's why again we use the wood burner to help minimize the fraying. So you can just cut this part off to not let it be a bother, or you can just try to tuck it in. All right, and then we're just gonna attach it again to the wreath frame. And again, I'm attaching these to the second ring from the outer part. So the second ring, I'm just gonna alternate rings. I'm using the second, then I'll be using the fourth, and then we'll get to the plastic canvas. And when I'm adding these, I'm trying for the base of the flower petal to touch the top of the ring next to it. All right, so you can see it's kind of touching the next ring below it, and that's what I want. All right, and then you can tuck your Chenille stems back. I'm just gonna finish this. We have attached all of our outer petals, so see. So then we're gonna go again, we're on the fourth ring, so the innermost ring on this wireframe or wreath frame, and we're gonna attach all the reds, and then we'll be back. We're gonna attach all the reds, and I think I'll just go in and attach all the plaids in the center, and then you'll see what it looks like in the end. I really like it. I think this is beautiful. What do you think? Beautiful. And then we're gonna add the flower center, right? So let's try and thread this through here. It's going to be a bit of a challenge, but that's okay. Just twist it on like so. Right, I don't need all of that, so I'm just gonna cut the extra and tuck this one down. Right, and then I'm gonna cover the back of this with a piece of felt, but yay, this is our flower. Yay, I like it. What do you think? Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in our next video.